Around 6 p.m. on December 29, 1977, a pilot flying over the quiet bushland near Perth spotted smoke rising from the trees. At first, it looked like the remnants of a brush fire, but by morning, when ground crews reached the site, they discovered something far worse: the charred remains of a young woman slumped beside a burning tree stump. The body belonged to 22-year-old Kerryn Tate. What started as a routine fire watch had uncovered one of Western Australia's most haunting mysteries.
Around 6 p.m. on December 29, 1977, a pilot flying over the quiet bushland near Perth spotted smoke rising from the trees. At first, it looked like the remnants of a brush fire, but by morning, when ground crews reached the site, they discovered something far worse: the charred remains of a young woman slumped beside a burning tree stump. The body belonged to 22-year-old Kerryn Tate. What started as a routine fire watch had uncovered one of Western Australia's most haunting mysteries, a case that would remain unsolved for more than 4 decades, and a truth that only time and science could finally expose.
The next morning, firefighters were called to a small blaze in the bush near Canning Dam. As the smoke cleared, they found a young woman's body lying in the trees. It was Kerryn. She had been struck several times and set on fire. The remote area, far from passing cars or houses, gave police almost nothing to work with. Investigators faced a mystery that felt impossible: no witnesses, no clear motive, and evidence that had been damaged by fire.
Reporters covered the story across Western Australia. The murder of a young woman alone in the hills unsettled everyone. There were rumors of a drifter seen in the area, a man who had been camping nearby, but his name never appeared again in the files. With no weapon, no witness, and no strong suspect, the case began to lose momentum. Within a year, the file was moved from active investigation to cold case storage. But even as it gathered dust, one small sample, collected from the burnt earth, was sealed and stored. It didn't mean much then, but decades later, that same sample would change everything.
As months turned into years, the file marked Kerryn Tate homicide sat on a shelf at police headquarters in Perth. Detectives moved on to new cases, and the few who had worked it closely retired, one by one. Kerryn's family never stopped asking for answers. Her parents spoke to newspapers, hoping someone would come forward. Each anniversary, they placed flowers near the site where she was found, the same patch of bushland that had taken their daughter and left them with silence. Through the 1980s, police reviewed the case several times, but technology offered little help. DNA testing was still in its early stages. Samples collected in 1979 couldn't be fully analyzed, and every effort to re-examine the evidence led back to the same wall. There was simply not enough to go on. Detectives in later years described the case as one that never left them. Some kept newspaper clippings in their desk drawers. Others returned to the site long after it was closed, standing in the same clearing, wondering what they might have missed. In the 1990s, Western Australia faced a series of other violent crimes, and public attention shifted. Kerryn's story faded from headlines, but her name stayed in police records and family memory.
In 2004, the case was re-entered into a review program for unsolved murders. The evidence, including charred fragments and a small biological sample, was sent for preservation. Still, the tests came back with nothing new. For the next decade, the silence deepened. People who had known Kerryn grew older. Some passed away still waiting for justice. But time, while it closed some doors, quietly opened another.
Hidden in storage, that small piece of evidence from the scene, sealed and forgotten for decades, was about to meet a world of new forensic science.
The investigation that once led nowhere was about to be given another chance. And this time, the results would shake Western Australia's cold case history. It was early 2024 when Western Australia police reopened the file. Cold case detectives had begun a new project, using advanced DNA technology to revisit old unsolved murders. Kerryn Tate's name was near the top of the list. Inside an evidence box, still sealed after 45 years, they found the preserved samples collected from the scene. Small, fragile pieces that earlier generations of investigators could never fully test.
Scientists at the State Forensic Lab began the slow process of extraction. Weeks passed, and then, for the first time since 1979, a clear DNA profile appeared. It matched no one in the criminal database. But when the profile was uploaded for genealogical comparison, a small connection appeared. A distant relative living hundreds of kilometers away. Detectives began tracing the family line backwards. The work was complex, involving public records, ancestry files, and quiet interviews with people who never imagined their family tree might hold the key to a murder.
Piece by piece, the web of relatives narrowed, pointing toward one man, someone who had lived in the same region as Kerryn during the late 1970s. He had never been named as a suspect, never even questioned. Detectives quietly gathered records of his movements, employment, and known addresses. When they finally located living family members, they collected voluntary DNA samples. The match was undeniable. A close genetic relationship linked the unknown sample from the crime scene directly to a deceased man named Terrence John Fisher.
Terrence Fisher had died years earlier, never facing charges, but forensic scientists confirmed it. His genetic profile matched the trace material collected beside Kerryn Tate's burned body. It was the breakthrough no one expected to come after nearly half a century. For detectives, the relief was mixed with frustration. They had an answer, but no man to question, no trial to hold. Yet for Kerryn's family, the news was something sacred. After 45 years, they finally knew who was responsible.
When police publicly announced the identification in 2024, it closed one of Western Australia's oldest unsolved murders. Kerryn Tate's name was finally spoken alongside the word justice. The lead investigators described the result as a testament to persistence and evolving technology. The sample collected from the dirt in 1979, nearly thrown away at one point, had held the truth all along. Journalists revisited the case, piecing together what was known of Fisher's life, but much of it remained in shadow.
To this day, no one knows why he targeted Kerryn. Whether it was a chance encounter or a premeditated occult ritual may never be clear. But through decades of silence, one thing endured: the determination of those who refused to let her case be forgotten. From the officers who preserved a single scrap of evidence to the forensic scientists who tested it 45 years later, every effort mattered. In the end, it was patience, science, and memory that brought light to a case once consumed by fire.